You always make everything about you. You just shut down anytime I try to give any sort of feedback about what's wrong or what my needs are, and you are such a victim.
She's good. I feel like I'm in trouble. This is Dr. Sarah Schewitz, and that, you guys, was criticism. All right, Sarah.
Yes.
Can you tell me what you specialize in right now?
Love and relationships.
Love and relationships. Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing that?
Over 10 years now.
So, we are not meant to be solo animals. Like, life is better when we're within a community and we have people around us that can support us through the tough times. And oh my God, life can get really tough sometimes. So I wish that I had a practitioner like Sarah available as a resource for me when my relationship was breaking down. Like, she just understands couples. How do you reconnect without it all flaring up?
So, I mean, there's certain things you definitely have to stop doing if you're doing them. The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which are criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and contempt.
I'm as normal as everyone else. I do all my research last minute. And I was reading about this maybe 4 hours ago. And I'm like, shit, why didn't I know about this years ago?
Well, and the crazy thing is, had you known about it, there may have been a really different outcome.
Wow.
Because when the 4 Horsemen are present in follow-up studies, over 95% of the couples that were studied were divorced, broken up, or just miserable.
Saw a video about you talking about the 4 Horsemen.
Yeah.
And you said that Gottman Institute did a study and they can predict 95% of divorces happening.
I think it's even higher, but I always forget the exact number, so I say over 95% to cover all my bases.
That's insane.
It's nuts.
That's insane. All right.
But here's why. Let's say we're fighting about, who knows, the dumbest thing. You forgot milk. You forgot to bring milk home. Okay. So I'm like, ugh, you forgot to bring milk. You're so inconsiderate. You always do this. What's your knee-jerk reaction there?
You go buy milk.
Okay. Defensiveness. So I got critical, number 1.
Right.
You got defensive with a counterattack. We're fighting about how we're talking now at a certain point. And you're going to say something probably like, watch your tone. You're being super bitchy or super critical or whatever language you want to use. And before you know it, we're fighting about how we're fighting instead of, you know what, sorry, I did forget the milk. Do you want me to go get it now or should I get it tomorrow?
Is that the first Horseman that usually shows up?
No, they're not really in order of when they show up. They're in order of how detrimental they are to a relationship. Criticism is actually more likely to be done by females. And this goes way back to caveman times.
Okay.
Because we were gatherers and men were hunters. So men are single focused. There's a deer, I should shoot the deer. That's it. Women were like, there's a berry, there's a tree, there's a snake over there. What are the kids doing over there? I need to remember these berries are going to be ripe tomorrow, but these ones aren't going to be ripe till next week. We are very detail oriented.
I love this. This is great.
And our environment screams at us. We tend to notice things that men don't. And this is a huge stereotype and not always true.
It is a stereotype.
But this is our DNA. Literally, this is our DNA. So we notice more, so we are more detail-oriented, so we'll criticize more.
All right, so this is important because criticism is something that we all do to everyone. We do it to our partner, our friends, our children. It's a part of nature. It's interesting. I've been researching a lot. You guys know that we've been working with hormones and serotonin. I see a correlation between serotonin, our happy feel-good hormone, and criticism. Our body rewards us when we feel like we're doing better than our fellow person, right? And this is a cheap way of getting a good feeling. When we criticize, it's I like to think of it as a juvenile way. It's something we learn in high school. We criticize someone, we feel kind of good because we feel that we are in a better position than that person that we've criticized, which, as adults, we should be growing out of this. There's a better way of getting that shot of serotonin without criticizing. And that's comparing yourself to your former self, your yesterday self. And if you're doing better today, just one little thing, your body rewards you with a happy feel-good hormone, and it's a positive way of feeling good about yourself. Like, you're not stealing someone else's joy by criticizing them. So something to look into, especially if you're criticizing your partner a lot, to kind of like validate yourself and make yourself feel better about yourself. I know, deep. But anyways, let's move on to defensiveness. So judgment is one. We talked about that.
Criticism.
Thank you. And then the next?
Defensiveness.
Is that you're always on the defensive? Is that what it is?
It's not taking responsibility for your side of the street, essentially, like your 50% contribution to the problem.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, and there's always something you can take responsibility for. The most simple blanket statement you can use is, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Now, that's very different from, I'm sorry your feelings were hurt.
I've heard that before.
Ugh, it just makes me cringe.
Friends.
Anybody, yeah, that doesn't want to take responsibility.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah! Like, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
That's why they're hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This right here is how all fights begin. Criticism, defensiveness, snowballing. In my relationship, I remember some fights where we went through all 4 of the Horsemen in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Defensiveness can definitely be a counterattack. So let's say I bring a concern to my partner and he's like, no, that's, you can't even complain about that because last week you did something even worse. So counterattacking is definitely a big one. But just blanket denial. Like, I didn't do that. That's not how it went down. I didn't hurt your feelings.
That's weak.
Yeah, it's weak. Yeah. So the antidote is take responsibility.
I know this sounds so simple, just take responsibility. And there's different levels of responsibility too. Like, sometimes you don't want to own up for the entire thing. It's like, let's share some of the blame. It gets really complicated really fast. And not to mention, there are like the many times where I felt that because I showed up as being the responsible type and I owned my rubbish, so to say, sometimes in the past I've felt like I've been taken for a ride or advantage of. Like, how many times do I have to say sorry? Or how many times in a week do I have to be blamed for something, And sometimes it gets into the really nitpicking small things, which I get it. It's tough. It would be really nice if all of us, like if everyone across the board just owned their rubbish and said, yep, I'm taking responsibility and I'll try to fix it. If 2 people can do that in a relationship, that is a very healthy relationship and a great way of moving forward. Oh, and if no one in a relationship wants to take responsibility ever, that turns into a very pathological environment. And I wouldn't imagine what that would feel like. That would be tough. Like, it's important to take responsibility in every part of life, I guess. Tell me about stonewalling, because I'm curious.
Stonewalling is shutting down emotionally. And it can look a few different ways. I'm sure we've all been there where you slam the door and walk out and say, I'm not talking to you about this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And it's fine to say, look, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to talk about this right now. Can we take a break and come back to it in 30 minutes?
I think that's healthy.
It's a totally different conversation.
So you're saying that stonewalling is going over the top to what? You're trying to not have that conversation?
You're escaping. You're giving your partner the silent treatment.
Right.
Just shutting down, not engaging emotionally at all. So it could also be, you're trying to talk, like let's say your partner's trying to talk to you about something and you're kind of done with the conversation. So you're just like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, got it, yep, totally, yep. Just, trying to move them through.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of stonewalling in a different way because you're still shut down emotionally and not engaging with the emotional content that your partner's putting out there.
You're not even having a conversation.
No.
Like, there's no communication. The communication is, you're not worth my time right now.
Yeah, that's right.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
So research suggests that women criticize more than men, but it doesn't mean that men get away scot-free, because research also suggests that men stonewall more than women.
Contempt. If this is present, you're pretty far gone as far as conflict has been mismanaged over and over again, and you just lost respect for each other at that point. So,
can I have an example of what?
So contempt is making your partner feel less than you. It could be saying something like, you would do that.
No.
You know, like that eye roll, that kind of...
1, 2, 3. All right, I have a story where my partner did roll her eyes at me in front of friends.
I've done it before.
I
Guilty.
I kicked her out.
What do you mean?
I got out. Get the fuck out. That's what I said. Like, I was so upset.
Were you guys like out to eat? I mean, where were you?
Yeah, we're at a friend's house. At my friend's house, and I'm like, if you don't leave, I'm leaving. So someone make a choice.
So that is how harmful contempt is.
Yeah, I was so, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're talking about this tomorrow morning. And I'm not going to tolerate that. Like, no one should tolerate that.
Yeah. And contempt often is pretty abusive. It can border on emotional abuse, you know, name calling, making you feel small. It's just, many narcissists use that as a technique to just kind of like shrink their partner little by little and make them feel like crap about themselves.
You shouldn't do that with anybody.
No.
That sucks.
Yeah.
My ex, not a narcissist. I still believe that she is the most beautiful person on this planet. Like, she's an adorable soul, and it was a terrible situation that we both got caught up in. It's interesting how, like, the most important, like, let's put the person aside and let's talk about the situation first, because even to this day, if we were to talk to Emma about this, she'll still tell us that she never rolled her eyes, or I rolled. I was drunk. I know what I saw, and we got to a stalemate. So the next morning we discussed it. I went home. I'm like, I was still livid. So I'm like, rah, let's go in and chat about this. And we couldn't find a resolution. Like, she's just like, you're wrong. It didn't happen. I'm like, I know what I saw. It came to a point where there was no point in fighting about this anymore. We needed to find a resolution. And I conceded in saying, fine, let's just put this aside and let's say it never happened. Right? There was no eye rolling. But then also with that came the next caveat, which was, listen, this is so, like, this hurt me so much, whether it happened or not, that if it ever happens, I'm going to divorce you. I mean, we were already on a knife's edge as it was at that time. And to her credit, to both our credits, let's say to her credit, because it's easier to remember what your partner did, she never, ever showed contempt in the marriage. So, I mean, and that I think is a beautiful resolution. And I never brought this up in any fights after that. I mean, that's exactly, I know it's silly saying this is a way of having a healthy fight, yet we still divorce. But I mean, it is a healthy way of having a fight. I mean, there's no point in stewing over what happened. It's making sure that you find a resolution, right? And this is part of the whole stonewalling thing, is like, you get to a resolution and then you do not bring that back up as ammunition in the future. But listen, my stance on contempt is, it is a horrible, horrible thing. And if you're doing that, you literally just have no spine. I mean, you need to grow some balls and get out of the relationship. That's like straight up, I know that's a harsh thing to say, but I mean, it's harsh having contempt for your partner, you know? It's like, that is a horrible thing to do. It's just, you're weak because you don't want to get out of the relationship, and you're forcing the scenario and putting the pressure on your partner to get out by making them feel like rubbish. So either fix it or get out. You know, stop tormenting someone with contempt. It's a horrible, horrible place to be. Yeah. All right, you guys. So I've been editing this video all day. I know, look, I look like trash. I'm in my little singlet. It's been. I just rewatched that last bit. I'm like, wow. All right, Dennis. Maybe you should not be giving out relationship advice. It is really harsh, the stuff that I'm saying, and this is why we have people like Dr. Sarah. She's much more gentle than me when it comes to giving out relationship advice. So if you are seeing the 4 horsemen in your relationship and you want to work on it, and I do think that relationships, marriages should be worked through, because almost everything is fixable, almost everything is solvable. Definitely go see Dr. Sarah. She's at coupleslearn.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. She's great. I mean, she's a really kind and sweet person to talk to, and you can just tell. I mean, she makes things easy, which is what it's all about. If you are going through the 4 horsemen, guys, good luck. You can get through it. And sometimes I wish that Emma and I tried just a little bit more, because I definitely thought that we would grow old together. But there is really no right or wrong. That's the other thing, When I say have balls to get out, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, now that I've spent enough time alone and being single and really working on myself, like, I like who I am, and I wouldn't go back. I was going to say, I think I wouldn't go back. No, I know where I stand now, and I'm really happy with the person that I am, that we have in front of us, even though he is looking like trash. Anyways, leave your... God, just stop even looking at yourself, Dennis. Leave your comments below, guys. Tell me what your thoughts are on the 4 horsemen, even where you're at as well. I love hearing where people are at and what's going on in Melta's lives. So comment below. Let me know where you're at. I don't have all the answers at all. I don't have any of the answers. This is what this forum's all about. Us just like nutting this out together and getting to know more and more about each other and our experiences. I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.